Lack of employee engagement has huge financial implications for business and requires a new management approach. This presentation will cover workplace challenges faced by many organizations worldwide, how a coaching mindset can address those workplace challenges, and an introduction of the Navigational Conversations program, including who should attend and what participants would learn. In addition, we'll share some customer testimonials from the program. So let's look at workplace challenges. Each year, the Gallup organization does many employee engagement surveys around the world. The data from the 2013 Global Report showed that as many as 70% of U.S. employees are not actively engaged in their jobs. In fact, globally, this number is 87%, so that has huge financial implications. If you look at the U.S., that means that 30% are engaged and drive innovation. These are the employees who have passion, feel connected to their company, and move the organization forward. But over 50% are actually checked out and not engaged. These people are sleepwalking through their workday. There's another 18% that are actively disengaged, and these employees actually undermine what their engaged coworkers are trying to accomplish. Having those people around in your organization can even drag down the 52% which are checked out. When you look at the correlation between employee engagement and business success, what you find is that in an average organization, the disengaged and not engaged employees outnumber engaged employees 2 to 1. But in world-class organizations, it's actually the opposite. In fact, it's more like 9 to 1 engaged versus a not engaged and actively disengaged employee. What we also find is that companies with engaged employees see 147% higher earnings per share. So definitely engagement drops to the bottom line for organizations. Another challenge of disengagement, or in general, is that of employee turnover. Fully 31% of employees quit in their first 6 months. Of these, 81% are entry-level or intermediate-level employees. But it's not just those type of employees. Managers, in fact, 25% of Fortune 500 managers change their jobs yearly. The cost of losing an employee in this first year of employment is estimated to be 3 times the salary, so very large financial implications. What we need are leaders who lead and engage, that are able to unlock skills, talents, and problem-solving abilities of others through listening and providing feedback. When you have this in place, that equals much better employee retention. The Navigational Conversations program is one where you really switch from a problem-solving mindset to a coaching mindset. You might ask, what is the problem with problem solving? Well, what we find is that many organizational leaders have a tendency to be very hands-on problem solvers, and in fact, this may have contributed to their promotion. But eventually that strength becomes a limitation. Those managers have less time to engage with employees, and they're less able to develop their own skills and that of their employees. So what are navigational conversations? It's really a metaphor for a critical kind of leadership conversation. It's one that supports people in finding their way from where they are to where they want to be. It uses a coaching process to support people in this journey. What we find is that navigation and coaching are parallel processes. The Navigational Conversations program is about teaching leaders to have the skills using a 5-step model and a framework to have those everyday conversations, but in a much more effective way. So why are these kinds of conversations important? It helps leaders unlock the talents and problem-solving abilities of others. As we mentioned, too many managers are doing the hands-on work themselves. They need to harness the untapped potential in the workplace rather than doing that work themselves. We know that when you talk to employees and you ask them their opinions and how they might solve problems, there's a huge amount of creativity and ideas that when you enable people to be empowered to use their voice and their creativity really is a huge benefit to the organization. What's nice about the Navigational Conversations method is it's a fast and simple way to make the shift from problem solving to leading and coaching in a very simple 5-step process. So some of the benefits of Navigational Conversations in your workplace are around employee retention. We find when you interview employees that are leaving, HR people have noticed that most employees feel that they don't exist. Nobody notices what they're doing, so why should they bother staying? There's a lack of appreciation and acknowledgement for what employees are doing in the workplace. When you take a coach approach, you are providing feedback continuously, and it's not just corrective feedback. There's positive feedback and developmental feedback. So when you're using a navigational conversation, your employee retention goes up. We know that employees without feedback are less confident in the work they're doing. They don't feel free to offer suggestions. They're not sure if they're doing the right activities or even have the right priorities. This leads to loss of enthusiasm for the job and a loss of loyalty to the organization. In a study done by Watson and White in 2009, when they looked at employee performance, they found that highly engaged employees were twice as likely to be the top performers. In fact, 3/4 of those top performers exceeded expectations for performance, not just meeting it, but exceeding it. So coach approach leaders are much more engaged with their direct reports, and they're not stuck in the work or be mode themselves. So who should attend a program such as this? Well, your supervisors, managers, and organizational leaders, anyone who's responsible for the development, growth, and progress of others, or just those interested in enhancing their own capacity to develop others through effective coaching conversations. What participants learn in this program are the key principles that define successful coaching interactions, the difference between that problem-solving mindset and the coaching mindset, where and when to use the tested and proven 5-step coaching model. The art of conscious listening, the art of the question, and the art of telling are also explored. And lastly, how to provide effective positive, corrective, and developmental feedback. The program is a 2-day interactive workshop. On the first day, we go through defining the role of a coach, including a self-assessment to benchmark where you are today in your coaching approach. You'll learn the coaching conversation model, the art of conscious listening, and the art of the question, and then coaching practice. In pre-work for participants, we ask them to think of scenarios in their own workplace where they are struggling to have these kinds of conversations, the kind of employee issues and challenges that they are faced with. And these are used throughout the program in role-playing so that they can really get a better handle on how to change that conversation to a much more productive one. Day 2 is part 2 of the coaching conversation model, including bridging the gap, additional coaching practice, the art of telling, and then more practice and feedback. What makes this program unique is the navigational metaphor. It's very clear and memorable for your managers and supervisors and easy to implement. We have video examples of what not to do in coaching and what good coaching looks like. As I mentioned, there's lots of practice using participant scenarios, so good experience. It's immediately applicable as soon as your leaders go back to the workplace. They have a new model and a new framework for having those conversations that they were already having. In addition, this program was developed by 2 people with over 40 years of leadership experience. So what we know is that coaching improves employee engagement. When you go back to the Gallup survey about employee engagement, 6 out of 12 of the questions that speak to that issue can be addressed with effective coaching. Questions such as, I know what is expected of me at work. I have received recognition or praise for doing good work. There's someone at work who encourages my development. At work, my opinion seems to count. In the past 6 months, someone at work has talked to me about my progress. And they've had opportunities to work, to learn, and grow. When you use a navigational conversation approach, employees get consistent feedback. They're given the opportunity to use their creativity and solve problems on their own, so they are growing and developing and being heard. And they know that their manager knows what's happening with them and is encouraging them to develop. Some of the participant testimonials from the program really talk to the aspect of the immediate applicability of the program, and really understanding that employees often know how to solve their own problems. And that really saves time for your managers and leaders. Thank you for your time.